Yeah, I think the interesting thing is there's going to be a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is a good opportunity. This is a time to prepare for for when we come out of this and to do things differently." But I think what the theory of constraints offers you that not everything else does is it gives you the how to do that. So if you can understand essentially what the need of the market is, and then basically synchronize everything else to that. And what I mean by everything else is what typically happens again in an environment, particularly with larger companies, when things like this happen, is everybody goes into silo mentality. So they go into, what can I do in sales? What do I need to do in marketing? What do I need to do in production? What do I need to do in supply chain? What do I need to do in purchasing? And they'll all look at doing very local actions which aren't joined up
to protect their silo, you mean?
Yeah, and they're not joined up. So part of the reason why we're in the mess with Far East supply now is because purchasing look for lowest price. Sales want availability. So there's all this sort of trade-off between the two.
That's a direct conflict.
Yeah, and so therefore what will tend to happen is that people will go into their silos and look at what's good for me in sales. What do I offer for me in sales? What do I do in purchasing? How do I offload some of this? And we don't have joined up thinking. What the theory of constraints says is that, look, you have to treat the business as a whole. The business isn't a set of independent silos. They all work together to achieve what should be bottom line for the whole business. And to best achieve that, everyone needs to be synchronized and working towards the common goal. And that starts with a decisive competitive edge. That starts with saying, what is it that the market needs that currently isn't being satisfied by the rest of my competitors? What significant need is there? If we can understand what that is, then we can then synchronize everybody else around that. So I can synchronize production around that. The beauty of theory of constraints and looking at a constraint is it means that we're interested in flow and we're interested in capacity. So typically we can do things much faster. So we can reduce the lead times and we can increase capacity at the same time. So most of the time things are basically I've lost my train of thought. Mine. Sorry. Let's start again. Ask me another question.
Okay. So under theory of constraints, you think that we have the thinking process to do this, the tools to do it. We have the knowledge to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the thinking, is it? I think the beauty of the theory of constraints is actually it's quite simple, but people don't tend to think of simple things. So if you take even the significant need of the market, it tends to be, what do people want? Well, when I go to a shop, I'm looking for something, I want to be able to buy it, and I'm disappointed when it's not available. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a retailer, I need to make things available. It's very simple. So make sure that things that people want to come to buy are available.
Yeah.
Given a huge range of a stock of thousands of SKUs doesn't increase my sense of availability. It actually does the opposite. Going, well, the bit I wanted isn't there. Or the shoe I wanted
they look at that range as a differentiator because they can't get the things that people want available, so they widen the range out to go, well, maybe we can provide other things, and we get too much range in a way.
Yeah. So I think the beauty of theory of constraints around how do I set my offer is its simplicity. I mean, you take the construction company I was talking about earlier. It's like, what's the need of the people when they get back? It's availability and responsiveness. I just want, so you've got the parts available for me, great. Can you get them to me quickly? If you can do those two things, fantastic. If you can't, then you miss the boat. You don't make the sale.
Yeah,
you don't get it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's the same with a production company when you're saying, make to order situation where I'm making something that you're bespoking, then what does the customer want? They want good quality, and they want high reliability, that it's going to turn up when you said it's going to turn up. So I don't need to be fantastically clever with my offer. I just need to think simply about what is it that people actually want. And then from a theory of constraints perspective, we do have tools in production and engineering, and in sales too, based on flow and based on the constraint, that can do some of these things faster by challenging the policies. And one of the most fundamental things is the way I release work into the system. And I think that's the mistake that most production companies and engineering companies make, is their release process is fundamentally flawed.
So what you're saying is, in relation to the logistics part of it, there are some basic fundamental principles which need changing, but there aren't that many. And therefore,
Absolutely.
That doesn't make it complicated. It's quite simple. It may not always be that easy to change, but they are simple.
Yeah, so the technical solution is simple. The behavioural change is more tricky. So 80% of the challenge is in how you get people to behave in a different way, because you're undoing you're undoing learned behaviours in the past and what they think is good. So at the moment, we don't necessarily have, in businesses as a whole, we don't have consensus on what good is. We don't all agree what good looks like. So good for a production operator on the shop floor is, I've produced hundreds of widgets today. Is that good for, and I haven't set the machine up, is that good for satisfying the orders from the sales department's perspective? Often not.
So again, you're coming down to the fact that the measurement system often is local measurements which don't align with the global goal, is what you're saying. And that's the way we're running it, by dividing it down into departments, giving measures to individual departments without thinking holistically. And this is a major challenge. If you want to change it, you have to think differently.
Yep. But that gives you your breakthrough. And that's what theory of constraints can do for you. It can look holistically, as I said before, and then it has some simple things you can put in place in each of the different departments, which is mainly around release and mainly around focus and output and a single priority system that doesn't change. None of which is, frankly, rocket science.
So the essence of that is, you're not actually changing the process, like in production. You're not changing the process, you're changing how it's managed. You're not, in engineering, changing the process, the technical process of work, but you are changing how it's managed.
Yeah, and in many ways in engineering particularly, we're actually giving managers the ability to manage, rather than often managers end up as adding resource to the task to try and get the task done, rather than managing the people and the flow of the task through the system. In an engineering situation, most engineering managers don't manage.
So what they do is they work in the process rather than on the process, is what you're saying. Yep. They become a resource in the process, as another engineering resource.
Yep. Absolutely.